Hello everyone, my name is Sheffield, and this is the 12th episode of the series where I go over my history book, Fur Trades and Human Civilization. Today we'll be wrapping up chapter 3 with section 3.6, Railroads and Buffalo Hides, and starting chapter 4. So let's talk about 3.6, Railroads and Buffalo Hides. So the distribution of buffalo across the North American continent spanned from coast to coast, stretching from the west side of the Rocky Mountains to the east side of the Appalachian Mountains. Buffalo were even present in the Mid-Atlantic region, which typically includes states like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., covering the western Atlantic coast. The Spanish were the first to trade large buffalo hides with Native Americans in the late 16th century, using them for decoration or as blankets and bedding. During the French colonization of the Mississippi River Basin, the French also purchased large buffalo hides to take back to Europe. Americans began trading buffalo hides in the late 18th century, with the hides being processed into belts, boots, trunks, clothing, gloves, horse tack, industrial leather, and military supplies. This period coincided with the beginning of the First Industrial Revolution and the United States' efforts to expand exports. Although buffalo hides were less profitable than furs from sea otters, beavers, and minks, their abundance and seemingly inexhaustible supply led to a significant increase in trade over several decades. After the War of 1812 between the United States and Britain, the large-scale trade of bison hides truly began in North America. Before this, the primary reason for killing bison was for food and to clear their habitats for agriculture. However, in the early stages, the bison hide trade mainly involved fur traders exchanging goods with Native Americans. Native Americans typically hunted bison in the fall and winter when the fur was the thickest. Tanning a large bison hide was time-consuming and labor-intensive, with an average Native American woman able to tan a maximum of 10 hides per year. After 1830, the use of steamboats on the Missouri River greatly enhanced transportation capacity, significantly boosting the scale of the bison hide trade. In the same year that approximately 90,000 bison hides were floated down to St. Louis, about 15,000 were transported by wagon from Bent's Fort to St. Louis. These large hides were usually sold wholesale for $4 to $10 each, while the retail prices could reach $25 to $50. Unfortunately, the construction of railroads across the North American continent had a devastating impact on bison populations, driving them toward extinction at an alarming rate. In 1869, the completion of the railroad from Sacramento to Omaha marked the beginning of a widespread railway expansion. In the following years, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad and the Kansas Pacific Railroad laid multiple tracks in the southwestern region. These railroads divided the bison herds into smaller groups, with their numbers continuously dwindling. Sometimes entire bison were killed just for the tongues, which were then smoked or pickled and shipped in barrels, while the rest of the carcass were discarded. These were very different from the Native Americans' ways of hunting bison, which involved using the entire bison and all of its parts, ensuring that nothing goes to waste. Here is just a list of the different things that Native Americans would use the bison for. First, they would eat the meat and internal organs. They could use the horns and cups and spoons, and they would use all the teeth and bones and organs of each bison. Bison were integral to every aspect of Native American life. Their near extinction exacerbated poverty among indigenous peoples, leading to resource scarcity, food shortages, and the loss of trade goods such as furs. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, many North American wildlife species were on the brink of extinction due to overhunting and habitat loss. Unlike the development trajectory of Latin America, the exploration and development of North America was significantly driven by the fur trade, which spanned several centuries and crossed both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The earliest European settlers in North America discovered immense commercial opportunities in trading furs with Native Americans, attracting waves of European immigrants to the eastern coast of North America and leading to the establishment of multiple colonies. Eventually, Britain acquired all of French North America except for Louisiana west of the Mississippi River, and British North American colonies were prohibited from crossing the Appalachians. In the wake of its independence, the newly established United States lost its access to British trade networks and sought new avenues for international trade. After experimenting with products like ginseng, America recognized fur as the most effective commodity for trading with China and engaging in global commerce. The Louisiana Territory, acquired cheaply from Napoleon, was not only a vast expanse rich in fur resources, but also a crucial springboard for expansion to the west, north, and south, spurring previously mentioned explorations like the Lewis and Clark expedition. Although Spain ceded Florida to U.S. in exchange for northern boundaries at the 42nd parallel, the situation quickly changed and newly formed Mexico struggled to maintain its territory. From the Appalachian Mountains to the Mississippi River, then the Rockies, and finally to the Pacific Ocean, the fur trade, like a rabbit desperately fleeing, pulled along fur traders and successive waves of immigrants. The use of steamboats on the Missouri, Mississippi, and Great Lakes were a monumental achievement, while the construction of transcontinental railroads provided unprecedented transportation capacity. Alaska, after being exploited for its fur resources, was sold by Russia to the United States, and it stands as a stark example of the consequences of short-term overexploitation of fur resources, mirroring other regions like Mangatea, Chukchi, and Kamchatka. Fur trade, exploration, and long voyages may be relics of the past, but they have expanded human reach, refined technological and productive capabilities, and elevated the development of human civilization. Fur, as a tangible and highly profitable commodity, motivated generations of people to undertake perilous journeys and face wilderness risks. Though fur trade and exploration have faded, the relentless progression of human civilization continues unabated. And now let's talk about Chapter 4, where we talk about other popular goods besides fur, starting off with Section 4.1, ginseng. So ginseng, scientific name Panax ginseng, is a herb found in altitudes of 500 to 1,100 meters and has fleshy roots and primarily grows in the cold regions of East Asia. It's widely used in China, Japan, Korea, the United States, Russia, and other parts of the world for its benefits in boosting energy, enhancing immunity, anti-aging, regulating blood sugar, and decreasing risk of cardiovascular diseases. So first, let's talk about ginseng and the Age of Discovery. The founding emperor of the Ming Dynasty, Zhu Yuanzhang, issued a decree to prohibit the use of ginseng to avoid burdening the populace, reflecting concerns about the impact of ginseng consumption. In the outline and digest for easy reference, Zhu states, "I have heard that obtaining ginseng is extremely laborious, which burdens the people, and thus it should not be offered as tribute." Compared to the Jiajing period, the price of ginseng per pound increased approximately 20-fold during the Wanli period. The demand for ginseng in the Ming Dynasty surged significantly due to the widespread need for warming and replenishing. There are many reasons for this increase in demand of ginseng, including support for the traditional Chinese medicine theory, climate impact during the Little Ice Age, increased human activities and disease incidence, official collection and regulation of medicinal standards, and economic prosperity due to the influx of silver, along with nobility and royalty demand, which was also clear in other examples of goods that were traded. The specific medicinal effects and mechanisms of ginseng have been debated by many over the years. This book does not comment on or elaborate on these debates, but rather describe the perception of ginseng based on documented literature. According to the Compendium of Materia Medica, it is stated that ginseng used today is sold from Liaodong, a region in northeast China. Ginseng within the Great Wall had disappeared due to overharvesting, making ginseng from the northeast China a high-priced medicinal material across China, which sparked significant political, economic, and cultural changes during the Ming and Qing dynasty. In 1619, they defeated the Ming dynasty in the Battle of Sarhu, and the later Jin continued to grow in strength, eventually establishing the Qing dynasty. Taking advantage of the mutual weakening of the Central Plains dynasty and peasant uprising regimes, they successfully crushed several southern Ming regimes and peasant uprising forces. The later Qin established the Eight Banners division system, monopolizing the rights to harvest and sell ginseng within the hands of the nobles of the Eight Banners. To expand revenue and increase profits, Nurhaci and Hong Taiji both emphasized increasing production and profit. To enhance production, the later Jin leaders divided the ginseng areas, increased the labor force for harvesting, and expanded the harvesting range. The geographic location of the later Jin dynasty in the Changbai Mountains, adjacent to the Ming dynasty and Korea, significantly influenced the development of ginseng trade and evolving relationship between later Jin and Korea over several decades. When later Jin was initially established, it was relatively weak. During the ginseng disputes with Korea, the later Jin had endured due to an inability to confront both the Ming dynasty and Korea simultaneously. After the Qing dynasty entered China, it gradually took control of the entire country, inheriting the complete bureaucratic system of the Ming dynasty and employing many former Ming officials. The Qing continued to rely on ginseng as an economic foundation, further regularizing and institutionalizing ginseng management. The system improved the efficiency of ginseng trade and significantly increased market supply. In 1730, civilian merchants, the Fan family, used ginseng tickets for ginseng harvesting for 13 consecutive years, employing more than 30,000 people annually, demonstrating the scale of production and trade. The high cost of ginseng made it a status symbol, with Qin Empire using it as a reward, similar to how the Han Dynasty used gold and the Tang Dynasty used silk. For example, Emperor Qianlong rewarded Grand Secretary Fu Heng with 3 jin of ginseng for his meritorious service in quelling the Danjinquan and Xiaojingquan rebellions. Due to extensive harvesting and the fact that ginseng takes many years to grow, ginseng from the Changbai Mountains gradually became extinct due to overexploitation. By 1789, although the official Ginseng Bureau issued 5,000 ginseng tickets, only slightly over 2,000 were collected by harvesters. The reduced yield led to a decrease in the amount of ginseng required per ticket from 10 taels to 6 taels after 1760. According to statistics from Jiang Zusan's Ginseng Empire, the price of ginseng soared from 3 taels of silver per jin in 1584 to 2,240 taels per jin in 1807. Conversely, the American ginseng was significantly lower. So now let's talk about the American ginseng, called Panax quinquefolius. Using the ginseng prices in Jiangsu as an example, in the early years of the Kangxi period, ginseng cost over 40 taels of silver per jin, and by 1731, the price had risen to 200 taels per jin. In 1744, it was 600 taels per jin. By 1754, it reached 1,000 taels per jin, and subsequently it gradually increased to over 1,600 taels per jin, even exceeding 2,000 taels. In 1708, French missionary Pierre Chartreux, under the orders of Emperor Kangxi, went to northeast China to map the area. During this time, Chartreux observed, consumed, and documented the characteristics, growing environment, medicinal value, and harvesting methods of ginseng. He boldly speculated that somewhere in the world between 39 and 47 degrees north latitude, there might be another country where this plant grows, and that country would be Canada. As mentioned earlier, due to the Qing Dynasty's strict control over ginseng harvesting and a monopolistic mechanism of licensed sales, coupled with Emperor Kangxi's decree in the 25th year of his reign prohibiting deforestation in the Changbai Mountains, the price of ginseng skyrocketed. French traders engaged in fur trade with China keenly seized this business opportunity. They hired local Native Americans to collect American ginseng, initially shipping it to France. In 1718, they transported the first batch of 30 tons of American ginseng to Guangzhou, exchanging it for 200 tons of tea and silk. After the United States gained independence on February 22, 1784, the American merchant ship Empress of China set sail from New York, laden with American ginseng, furs, and other popular goods, arriving in Guangzhou after 6 months. The total sales of all cargo amounted to 164,454 taels of silver, with American ginseng alone accounting for 473 dans, approximately 28,380 kilograms, generating a revenue of 80,410 taels of silver. After 1804, Britain essentially exited the American ginseng trade with China, only selling off its entire stockpile of ginseng in 1815, following the end of the War of 1812. Afterward, Britain ceased exporting American ginseng to China. Even during the Sino-British tariff negotiations after the Opium War, British Representative Robert Thom explicitly stated, "Ginseng, this is a trade with great fluctuations, entirely operated by American merchants." The quantities of American ginseng exported to China varied greatly. In 1788, the United States exported 1,065 dan, and in 1789 it was 2,055 dan, in 1790 only 399 dan, and in 1796 a mere 30 dan. However, in 1821, exports surged to 2,506 dan, peaking at 6,039 dan in 1824, which caused prices to plummet due to oversupply. In 1857, Britain, facing economic deterioration, refused to comply with the Bank Charter Act of 1844, which required equal gold reserves for issued currency. In the same year, the American ship SS Central America, carrying 30,000 pounds of gold, sank in a hurricane on its way from Panama to New York, further destabilizing the fragile financial environment. By the late 19th century, overharvesting and industrial development in the United States, which led to deforestation, had severely damaged the natural habitat of wild American ginseng, causing a significant decline in its yield and making it unable to meet market demand. Americans began experimenting with artificial cultivation of ginseng. After years of exploration and improvement, George Stanton successfully cultivated American ginseng in New York in 1885, and in 1895 the U.S. Department of Agriculture published a pamphlet on on artificial cultivation of ginseng. By the end of the 19th century, the ginseng cultivation industry was flourishing in the United States, while wild American ginseng had largely disappeared from the market. Cultivated American ginseng remains popular to this day. So yeah, that's it for sections 3.6 and 4.1. As always, you can purchase this book on Amazon, and you can feel free to like and subscribe to this channel to learn more. Thank you for watching.